The old cafe smelled of freshly brewed coffee and warm pastries, a scent that once felt like home to Daniel Walker. He hesitated at the door, his fingers gripping the handle. It had been years since he last stepped inside. The place was the same, wooden tables, dim lighting, soft jazz playing in the background, but he was not the same man. Daniel had once been a successful businessman, the proud owner of a thriving construction company. But life had a cruel way of humbling even the strongest. A series of bad investments, a sudden market crash, and betrayal by someone he once called a friend had left him bankrupt. The weight of failure crushed him, making him feel unworthy of trying again. He glanced at his reflection in the cafe window, a man in his late 40s, with tired eyes and a hint of gray in his beard. He had spent the last 2 years doing odd jobs, barely getting by. He had convinced himself that his best days were behind him. But deep down a voice whispered, "What if they aren't?" With a deep breath, he pushed open the door and stepped inside. "Daniel?" A familiar voice called out. He turned to see Margaret, the cafe owner. She was in her 60s now, but her warm smile hadn't changed. "I haven't seen you in ages. How have you been?" Daniel hesitated before forcing a smile. "I'm getting by." Margaret studied him for a moment before motioning toward an empty table. "Sit down. I'll get you a coffee." As he settled in, Daniel's gaze wandered around the cafe. He had spent countless mornings here, sketching blueprints, discussing projects, dreaming big. But now all he felt was doubt. Margaret returned, placing a steaming cup in front of him. "I heard about what happened," she said gently. "I'm sorry." Daniel nodded, not trusting his voice. "But you know," she continued, "failures don't define us. What we do after them does." He sighed, stirring his coffee. "I don't even know where to start again. I lost everything." Margaret tilted her head. "Did you lose everything or just what you built? Because as far as I see, you're still here. And you still have that mind of yours." Daniel looked away, his fingers tightening around the cup. "What if I fail again?" Margaret chuckled. "Then you start again. That's what courage is, Daniel. Not never failing, but never giving up." Her words lingered in his mind long after he left the cafe. That night, he lay awake thinking about all the times he had let fear hold him back. He had once built a business from nothing. What was stopping him from doing it again? The next morning he pulled out an old notebook, its pages filled with abandoned ideas. He spent hours sketching, brainstorming, and researching. The fire inside him, long buried under self-doubt, flickered back to life. Days turned into weeks. Daniel reached out to former colleagues, attended networking events, and slowly started laying the foundation for a new business. It wasn't easy. Some doors remained closed and some people still saw him as a failure. But this time he didn't let it break him. Months later he stood in front of a small construction site, his first project in years. It wasn't a skyscraper or a massive commercial complex, but it was a start. As he watched his team pour the first layer of concrete, Margaret's words echoed in his mind. "Failures don't define us. What we do after them does." For the first time in years, Daniel smiled. He had found the courage to begin again.